welcome to the Peace Channel, the Common Humanity Peace Channel. My name is Mel Lehman. I'm the director of Common Humanity. And what we seek to do is to build bridges of understanding between people here in the States and people over across the waters in the Middle East. And we have two guests who are going to just fit the bill precisely. We have a lady at the bottom, Miss Marianne Smith, who is in Texas at the moment, somewhere deep in the heart of Texas. We'll hear more from her. And we have the Reverend Dr. Sara, who is coming all the way from Bethlehem. We sang a couple of weeks ago about the little town of Bethlehem. Well, Sara is from Bethlehem itself, just a few blocks down the street from where Christ was born some 2,000 years ago. It is a great pleasure to have both of you here. I visited the Bethlehem Bible College several times. And about 6 years ago, I was leading a small group, and we were at the college and seeing what the good work you do. And the word came that the checkpoints were closed. And the checkpoints are something that folks in that part of the world experience all the time. But for us Americans, this was a new experience. I was leading a small group of people, and I had worries about getting them back to the airport in time. Would we miss our plane? But the good folks of Bethlehem Bible College, they said, listen, let's have a cup of coffee together and we'll talk this through. To make a long story short, we did get to the airport in time. And thank you, BBC, for the good, compassionate work that you did of putting me at ease and having us get to the airport in time. So welcome, Dr. Sara, and welcome, Ms. Smith. Let's see if we can go to screen share and tell us a little bit about, before we do that, just say a bit about how your background got you to the college, and Ms. Smith, a little bit from you, and then we'll go to screen share.
Sure. I've been working with the college essentially since 2007. My daughter, as part of her college education, needed more hours of Arabic studies than she was offered at her college. So we recommended that she do a study abroad program, which she was able to do at Bethlehem Bible College. And when we went over to visit her, her tutor was the wife of the founder of the college. So at that time, they were looking for someone to set up a U.S. nonprofit to receive funds and do awareness and things like that in the U.S. And that happens to be my husband's background. So he set up the U.S. office of Bethlehem Bible College, and he's the executive director. And I've helped in various ways since 2007. In 2015, I took on the position of U.S. development officer for the college. So I do grant writing, I do contact with funders and supporters, and I work closely with the team in Bethlehem on communications and development. And I love having a job about something I'm so passionate about. So.
Great. That sounds wonderful. Well, I hope to get back one of these days, inshallah, soon, and see the good college. Dr. Sara, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go to some pictures of the college.
Well, thank you, Mel. I'm honored to be with you here together with those who will be attending and those in the future who will be watching this, whether it is on YouTube or Facebook or other outlets that you'll be posting this interview. It's my honor to really represent my college, the college that I was a student at, starting from 91 all the way till now. I had different involvements, I would say, in the college. First as a student, later on as a teacher, just part-time teacher, I would say, for over 13 years before taking the presidency of the college. I pastored the church before taking the leadership at the college for many years, Christian Missionary Alliance Church in Jerusalem, my home church, my base church, which still I'm part of, and I'm on the leadership of that of these congregations. But in the transition that I was making from being the senior pastor of the church and handing the church to my associate pastor, whom I trained to take over the ministry, in the middle of that, I get called from Dr. Bishara Awad, our founder, who founded the college basically out of nothing. He was the founder, the president, and started the college in 1979, which we'll be talking a little bit probably in a few minutes about that. So he called me up and he asked me if I would be interested to be the president of the Bethlehem Bible College, which my initial response was almost no, because I was just so scared, to fill in the shoes of such a huge giant of faith and a man who really established the college, not just from zero, but he's a catalyst, he's a pioneer, he's someone that not just respected in Palestine, in the Holy Land, but actually all across the world and specifically in the Middle East. So I said, listen, I'll pray about it. And I took this in prayer, and together with consultation with my wife, we felt peace about deciding to do so. And it was from 2011, we started basically in a transition being vice president. Then 2012, more official. And 2013, I was installed as the second president of Bethlehem Bible College. And since then, I've been leading the school, working together with an average of about 50, a team of 50 people between faculty, staff, and the support staff as well, like Marianne and others who are working with us as well globally.
Well, I am so delighted to have you. And let's take a look at some pictures. I'm a believer that pictures are worth 1,000 words, at least 1,000 words. So let's try screen share here. And see if I can get this to happen. And you're now seeing Bethlehem Bible College on your screens. Here's the logo, and there is the Star of Bethlehem. And tell us a little bit about what we're seeing there, and I'm going to push ahead to the next slide. We did a Christmas card exchange with Bethlehem. Thank you very much. Flora, one of your staff members, was a great help. And here's a current book. You mentioned this gentleman, Sara Awad.
Yes, Mel. This is just actually the book is out of the oven as of a couple of months ago, actually even less, which was written as a biography of our founder, Dr. Sara Awad. Before starting the college, Dr. Sara has a great story, a hard one, very difficult one, partly sad and partly joyful because of the experiences that he experienced. So I would advise really for people to read this book, because our school's story is embedded in this. It's a vision of a man who had a vision to train Palestinians to know the Word of God, the Bible, in a deeper way, and to have a calling for the work of ministry, both in the church and the society. And in order to do that, he established the Bethlehem Bible College, which started with a very tiny, small initiative in Bethlehem. And since then, since in 1979, that's when he started the school in a school that he was leading. And maybe this is for you interesting, Mel, and those of us or few who are from a Mennonite background, that the inception of the Bethlehem Bible College was at the Mennonite school in Beit Jala, Hope School, where he was actually, he was trained by the Mennonites. He did his theological, both education and then theological education in Fresno, California, and then he came back and started, it was then he already started the school, but in order for him to be more equipped in theological education, he studied more. And then he started an initiative that really was a breakthrough in terms of the Palestinian history. At that time, many of the Christian leaders who have some sort of a calling to be in ministry or to teach the Word of God, at the first instance, they want to study their churches, basically their congregation or the missions that they're part of. They would think that they would be sending them outside because we didn't have any Bible college here inside the country. So, people would go, a lot of leaders, pastors who wants to be pastors will go to the US or to Canada or to the UK or other places. And the line goes that, once they go there, I would say very few, if any, actually would come back to Palestine because of the context and the situation and our difficulty. So between the vision he had to train people locally and basically this heart to have the leaders trained in their context so that we will not bleed, we will not lose more and more Palestinian leaders to go outside. He established this school, starting at the Mennonite Hope School, but then moved on to another location because we needed a place of our own. And then in 91, we moved into our campus now, which we have in a major area on Hebron Road, which is basically the vein of that connects between Jerusalem and Hebron. And we are in Bethlehem, in a place where everybody could see us. Everybody knows us. We have a good rapport with the community. And in the course of time, really, God gave us grace to open up a lot of relationships locally and globally, and be a beacon of light, a beacon of hope, a beacon of peace for the community that we represent and that's around us.
And here is your mission, and you've been speaking to that. Anything else you'd want to add to your mission before we go to our next slide?
Well, it's you know, if I would dissect, you know, every part of it, it's going to take time. But you know, basically, when we started, we focused mainly on Palestinians, and now later on speak a little bit about this. Now we don't only train Palestinians, but in the numbers of our students, we have a lot of Arab nationalities who are studying with us as part of our online degrees. And this is another breakthrough, I would say, not just for Palestine, but for the Arab world, to really train them in the Word of God in this way. And we are training internationals with our MA in Peace Studies and other programs that we've been offering. So we have quite a good number of students who come from all backgrounds, you know, all the way from the Philippines to Canada to US to South America, studying with us. That's why our vision focused now on training people to serve Christ in the world. Yeah. So it really broadened our scope. Then advocating a Palestinian evangelical perspective. And each one of those, if you go back to the first slide, it's quite explosive. You know, we live in a Palestinian context. We are evangelicals in our base, you know, Protestant, and this is not a common thing. I mean, Mel, you and Marianne live in a context where you know, always evangelicals is connoted with some sort of political agendas and you know, end time theologies and all sorts of things, and especially when it comes to Israel and Palestine, you know, because a lot of evangelicals, you know, somehow have a certain affinity towards Israel and the Jewish people in particular. But when the word Palestinian come to their face in our context, that there is Christians who are Palestinians, who are Arabs, and who are also evangelicals, it just blows the mind of a lot of people because it just doesn't connect with them. You know, it doesn't kind of like, they have no digits in their brains to understand this fact. And I can't speak more about this, but I've written some about that. You can dig some of the articles I've written in the past, especially on Christian Post, a few articles related to this issue. And, you know, our heart is to model Christ through community development. So as a branches out of Bethlehem Bible College, we are an academic institution, a university accredited by all kind of accreditations that we need to function, not just locally, but globally. But at the same time, we cannot stay silent to the injustice that is around us, to the poor people that are around us, and to the needs that God had somehow enabled us to provide. So we do have ministries, charities that serve in the community here locally, and even sometimes we send groups to go and serve refugees in the Middle East. And we want to do this to model Christ's love for the peoples around us, regardless of their background, whether they're Christians, Muslims, or even Jews, or whatever their background is. God's love them, and we want to show this in a practical way.
And we want to, we'll be talking shortly about ways that folks here in the States can connect with your work and about the context. These are some of the various branches of your ministry that has grown out of that original vision.
True. I mean, you can read them all, but these are, so we function as a university college, you know, and our programs are, our undergrad programs, all of them are accredited by the government. Again, this is accredited by the state of Palestine, which is probably, you know, being in a Muslim context, it's not always to accredit theological programs. You know, it's not happening in other countries yet. Palestine had been in the lead in terms of tolerance, and at the same time empowering the Christian community that is in Palestine, which really something that I commend in terms of the Palestinian government. I know, Marianne, if you want to say something towards this issue.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to add something, Jack. One of the programs that the college has is to work hand in hand with others in education in the country to develop a Christian curriculum for the public school system. So if you think about the context of it being a Muslim majority country, the fact that they are turning to Bethlehem Bible College to help form a curriculum for the public schools is an amazing thing. But they have that kind of reputation with the government and with the people. So it works well.
Yeah, I would say different ministries, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Tourism, even the Ministry of Social Affairs, all sorts of ministries do communicate with us and sometimes seek our advice or help or cooperation in providing, services to, the sectors that they represent.
And this is a picture of the school and some of your students.
Well, this is I would say this is an ancient. This is in the last millennium,
and a historical picture.
Yes, it's a historic because you alluded to the need to share a little bit about the history of Bethlehem Bible College. I wish I did have a picture for the Mennonite Hope School where the college started, but this is our second residence where we start. We moved after the Hope School, and on the left, right, you see Dr. Bishara Awad, who established our college. This is when he was young. He looks much smarter and much wiser with white hair now, but he still is our present emeritus, representing us in different ways in different places. And this is our second place after we moved from Hope School. Just close across the Manger Square, and we stayed there for about 9 years, or I would say yes, 9 years before we moved into our current campus, which is now, we solely own it as 4 main buildings with an amazing new building you could see in the next picture, probably in the slide,
yes.
Where this is our latest, I would say, building that we were able to build. This is our 4th building, but it's our newest, and it's our academic center. So most of the education programs, we have a great auditorium in there, the library and the academic offices. Just this is where everything functions. And across from this building, we have our administration building. We have our residence for other schools who are doing residential or volunteers. And we have another building where we have a guest house for whether short-term students or international visitors, pilgrims who would like to stay at the college. We are able to provide, hopefully by May, we'll be able to host up to 70 to 80 people in the campus in our guest house. And God blessed us really to be able to be in a campus that is like I said, in a prime area in Bethlehem, so that we can provide the best services for our students and community. This picture you're seeing is one of the last camp outing that we took our students to Wadi Kilt, which is a valley that goes down into Jericho, and water, kind of like stream that goes all the way from the hills of Jerusalem to the Judean desert. And we take our students every once in a while, of course. Sadly, because of COVID-19 or COVID-19 and 20 now, with everything happening, is we were kind of like we were not as active. This was last year, I would say, more I think either September or October, where we took our students down there. But hopefully things will go back to normal. Thankfully, we were not kind of like impacted heavily by the coronavirus. We were able to do our functions with care, being careful with a lot of things. It's not easy, even when we have a spike now of the 5th kind of like wave hitting Palestine in a bad way. We're still functioning, and the campus is still running face to face.
Sorry, I jumped ahead there. And speaking of, this is the building where I was. This is the historic building near Major Square.
Yes, I mean, we are not far from, it's about 10 minutes walk from Manger
Right,
Square, 10,
right.
15 minutes, depends how fast you could walk, Mel, probably.
Well, I'm not quite as fast as I used to be, but I still get a pretty good, still get a pretty good movement. These are some of the wise faculty members. I like these smiles. I like immediately like this. These are your faculty, and folks here in the States. We'll hear a little bit later how folks can connect with these folks. They write articles and teach your students.
Yes, and we have a blog and an academic journal where you can basically read and see and get exposed to our thoughts. We have several videos. I would say if people log into our website, they will have a lot of resources to understand the issues at hand that we face here in Palestine, but as well, some of the, like you said, to hear from top theologians who are representing our people and even our context and the region, because some of these guys are sought after not just locally but really internationally.
Yeah, yeah. And here's a happy moment. Did they all get their hats back, or do they trade hats? I wondered. I never was sure about that. You just
Well, the problem is that we own the hat. It's not theirs. It's our hats and our gowns.
Okay,
So
well,
they have to bring them back.
Okay. Well, that's a good solution. Different backgrounds and participation by your students. Here are some more of your students.
Yes. Yeah, so basically, if you read our students who come from a lot of background, they come to be trained. And we, one thing I would, just one line I would say, as a president of the school, as a leader, as a pastor, as a servant of God, of Christ in our midst, our context, I'd want to see my student not just fill only their heads. It's easy to now to get content and to get education and read and write, and the whole net is full, and you can access learning, I would say, content all over the place. But the most difficult thing is to change the hearts and to give vision and to transform the person, which is really not just the act of education. It has to do with the interaction, with believing in people, with releasing people, with empowering people, with delegating responsibilities. And all of that we are able to do, although our numbers of students are not high yet, just believing that we are able to instill vision and help release, visionaries and leaders and ministers and servants, men and women, both together, to change the church and the society. I think we achieved our vision.
Yeah.
It's more than just providing academic programs.
Absolutely. Well, in a moment, we're going to get to the context that you referred to, but yet before we leave the school, let's visit three students. The lady here is a student from Gaza.
Yes, this is Eleanor. Eleanor is from Gaza, and she's been studying with us MA degree in leadership and in ministry. Actually, she's related to one of instructor, Yusuf Khoury, who basically also inspired her to study, the Word of God. Both of she and her husband are serving in I think it's a Greek Orthodox church in Gaza. Now, I can talk from here till the morning about Gaza. Gaza probably is one of the most highly populated places, dense in the whole world. It's not the only one, but it's one of the most dense. You're talking about over 2 million people in I don't know in miles, but you're talking about like 50 by 30 kilometers kind of like area. And we all know that this is like a war-torn area that has been really all the time. I can't remember a time where Gaza has not been suffering because of the closure, because of difficulties, because of fanatics, and all sorts of things that are in there. And when Eleanor, applied to study there, she had a heart for the small Christian community that is in Gaza. In Gaza alone, I don't know how many remained, but we were talking about less than 1,000 Christians, and less than 1,000 Christians in a 2 million people population. That's the kind of like the ratio. 2,001,000 or less even. I mean, you have people like that who have a calling to stay in a place where everybody's leaving, a heart to serve her church and her community together, regardless even of if the people she's serving are Christians or Muslims. She loves the people and she wants to serve the people. So that's why we stand with people like Eleanor.
Right. The paintings behind me are what we work with at Common Humanity, and the picture right here is a famous image of the key. And this, which is an image of the Palestinian dispossession of the land, as I understand it, they took their keys with them and weren't able to return. This particular picture was painted by a young student in Gaza. So Gaza is a very special spot in my heart. Another student is Allah Khair.
Yeah, well, it's Allah is actually part of he attends our church now and he serves. He's a musician, he's a worship leader, he plays music, trains people in music. And again, a bright young man who he graduated from the college, and he's doing a lot of things because he believes that God. When he came, I mean, he came with no vision, no calling, nothing, just like empty. He just wanted something to study. He wanted a degree, but then to see his life and the transformation that happened in his heart, it's amazing. I mean, his desire to go and serve the world. He went on mission trips. He went to Jordan and served with the refugees. He went to Sicily, south of Italy, and I was with the guy who was with him 2 days ago in Athens, and he was telling me Ala was him and another classmate that went with him, Alfred. He said both of them, because they spoke Arabic, they were serving the refugees that were coming from Libya, coming from Syria, coming from all over, the war-torn countries. And they were serving them in a way that we have never seen before. And I told them, you know what, because these guys are refugees serving refugees. All of us are, in Palestine. I am a third generation, refugee. Of course, we don't act this way because now we have our houses and things. But my grandfather lost his house. My father wasn't, lost his house, and we know how is it, to really be dispossessed from your own house and life that you were part of it.
And two more students, and we'll talk about that just in one more minute here. But yes, finally, two more of your students.
Well, I would love you to see these guys have, after graduating from our college, went out and established a ministry, an art actually center, and the art or the play, the ministry is called Mr. OK. So this guy Tony goes and wears like a clown, and his wife helps him in the administration. And annually within their ministry and the work they're doing with, I think they have about 10 full-time staff together with them. I mean, they are reaching to, Tony told me this Christmas, I mean, like a month ago, that they are reaching up to, he said something like 10 to 15,000 children every year, which is, to know that the impact of that, sowing seeds of love and sowing seeds of the word of God and sowing seeds of, compassion in the hearts of children that they're serving. Again, we're not talking about only Christian kids, we're talking about kids of all backgrounds.
Yeah. I'd like to turn now to the context in which you are living. The context of the difficult situation of occupation. Here in the States, we've just the last week or so, we've been hearing about an Amnesty International report, which has made considerable headlines describing the situation in your part of the world as apartheid. When I was a kid, we heard about a movie called Exodus, and it was even on the radio, and a book, and that was the part of this complex situation which we heard growing up in this country. But there's more to this complex situation than just that movie portrayed. And the narrative, as we say, the part of the story which we Americans so often hear only one part of this complex situation. What did I miss when I was listening to the song Exodus as a kid on the radio? And what are we missing here in the States that we don't fully understand that you might help us understand better?
You have to forgive me. I'm not familiar with the movie, but maybe Marianne could speak to this if you
Well, it was
know anything about it.
about the
Our
family.
song.
Yeah, it's the traditional story from the Israeli perspective, basically, that without saying it in so many words says it was a people without a land for a land without a people, completely disregarding centuries of Palestinians, well, millennia literally of Palestinians living in the land. So it's, that's the story of the of Exodus. And honestly, let me just jump in here real quickly. A lot of the perspective that Americans have of the Holy Land and of the situation, the conflict, all of that, this is going to sound a little bit harsh, but it comes from fiction, because that's what we've been fed a steady diet of. There's a lot of Christian fiction that comes from a Christian Zionist perspective. And we as Christians have really taken to heart that as historical fact rather than as one part of one narrative. And unfortunately, for us as Americans, that seems to have become the default position or the default understanding of the conflict. And it's based in fiction. So yes, there is another narrative that needs to be addressed. So that's.
And the Bethlehem Bible Institute and your college are thank you, Marianne. And we're working on building the understanding of the plight of what it's like under occupation. How do you experience that, Dr. Sara? How has that affected? You mentioned your family. It has affected your grandfather and your father. It's affected you.
Well, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is one of the longest conflicts, has been going on now for over 70 years, 73 years of continuous suffering. At the wake of 1948, over 750,000 Palestinians became refugees in day and night in few days. And that kind of caused, still a humanitarian crisis that is still happening, with the refugees that are IDPs, IDPs, internally displaced people, people who lived in Jaffa and had houses ended up in Gaza in camps, people who lived in Haifa, in mansions, ended up, leaving on ships and going to Lebanon or somewhere else. And, still, Palestinians having hard time in not just within the Palestine or the Holy Land, but as well in Lebanon and Syria and elsewhere. And that crisis still impacts us, because since then we never knew peace. I mean, till now, land confiscation. I mean, see the latest Amnesty report, which basically reports how almost Israel is dealing with the Palestinians like an apartheid. There are roads only allowed for Israelis, and Palestinians are not allowed to drive on them. I mean, just take one small example. I have students that have been, their age is probably 19 or 20, and 21, 22 even. Just imagine Bethlehem and Jerusalem is less than 2 kilometers or 3 miles, 4 miles away from each other. Would you imagine that some of my students who, who are Christians, who are good Christians, Bible believing, who wants to serve God, who want to do, great things for everyone, regardless of the background, they love everyone, including loving their enemies, they cannot come to Jerusalem. They cannot visit Jerusalem because they are Palestinians. And, and because of the wall, and because of the checkpoints, and because of difficulties. And, it's a daily thing still going on that affects us, impacts me, impacts my children, impacts everyone else. And if you ask people around here, a lot of people who are even, it's not that just the desperate because they don't have economics or don't have business, those who are affluent. I don't want to generalize, but a lot of people just want to leave the country. So immigration had hit hard, I think, and in particular the Christian community, because it's the smaller in number. I don't want to say the word minority, because even though that don't make up 1%, most Christians don't feel like minority in their own country. Yet, the impact of everything, economy and politics, and the displacement and humiliation, and etc., just instills kind of like more of a hopelessness in the hearts of people to say, maybe we need to go somewhere else where it's just easier. If it's not for us, it's because for our children. I have little children, and they did, they did experience a few things that are difficult. If I only, sometimes don't know, or don't, what do you call it, like have faith that I am called to be here and to live here, and resilience to stay in my country, easily I could go somewhere else. The same with my faculty that you just showed them, any of them could have a chance to be anywhere else. But it is the calling, it is the, the resilience, and it is the heart that we want to really see God's love and God's light comes among our people, the Palestinians.
Well, thank you so much. Folks can learn more about the work of BBC, Bethlehem Bible College, and read articles by contacting these websites. We're going to run through a few more points. We're pushing past our half hour. So you might get a pencil ready. We're going to come back to this. Marianne is here in Texas, and she would be happy to connect you and speak with you and tell you more about how you can get connected. And these websites, as I understand it, will give you articles and more information about how Christians and other folks in Palestine are living under this very difficult situation, and ways we might hope for peace.
Yes, absolutely. This is the address of the U.S. office of the Bible College. We do a lot as far as just receiving donations. We do a lot of contacting people who write in for information. The website is also on there. I also put this information into the chat box. So if you miss it on the slide, you can always check in the chat box where I've included that. The info@bethbc.edu website or email address is just a place where you can write for more information. The ambassadors at bethbc.edu we'll talk about in just a minute when we get to that point. It's a new organization that we are starting here in the States for people who want to be supporters of the college in many different ways, to help raise awareness, to help move forward the vision of the college, to support the college, to share the vision with other people around them, different things like that. So yeah, we have a number of different ways up here that you can connect to the college.
So grab your pencil. We're going to push ahead and come back to this. We also have some Twitter and monthly newsletters. Facebook is a good way to connect with the college.
Absolutely. Our communications department is without equal. They are just fantastic. They post on Facebook and Instagram every day. Twitter, I'm not a Twitter follower, so I don't know anything about that, but it's on there. And so every day they'll have news articles, they'll have pictures of things that are going on in the college. They'll have little blurbs. Anytime anything's written, like if Dr. Sara writes something, it's posted on Facebook. So you can scroll back through Facebook posts to get more information. We put out monthly newsletters at the end of each month, and they have consolidation kind of what we have put out through the month, and new articles and things like that. If you want to get on that monthly newsletter distribution list, you can write to that info email address or send a letter to the U.S. office, and just let us know. We'll be happy to put you on that.
We have courses that you could take online.
I'm super excited about these. The course on the top right that you see, Discover Bethlehem from Your Place, is one of a series of courses that was done by our tour guide director, who is, again, without par. He is just a great guy. He really knows his stuff, archaeology, history, the sites, all these different things. He's done a course in Discover Jerusalem, Discover Bethlehem, Discover Galilee, Discover the Central Highlands. And we put those out periodically, and those are available for internationals. Also, we have a course for spoken Arabic, and we have a couple of different levels of those courses. So those are available for English speakers or other speakers. I suppose primarily English speakers, since it's taught in English. But one of the side effects that's happened because of these courses is the fact that we've developed another way of feeling community with people who are supporting the college. So we're very excited about those courses.
That sounds great.
And it's an income stream for the college. I will put that plug in too.
Well, I put a plug to contribute to the college. I'm a big fan of the college, and yeah, they need your support. Gift shop, beautiful gifts.
Yes.
You might purchase online and have shipped to you.
Absolutely. We have the gift shop is called the Star Bazaar. And if you go onto the Bethlehem Bible College website, there's a little link on there that takes you to the Star Bazaar, and you can actually order from overseas in the States, and they will ship it to you. Shipping is a little bit pricey, but the handicrafts and the goods that you can purchase through the gift shop are just high quality. And one of the things that the gift shop does as well is that they are able to feature the wares of marginalized people in our community. So some of the little felt, like Christmas ornaments or things like that, come from a school for handicapped children, or our some of our olive wood articles are from the workshop of a man who has no other employment, is not able to hold down other employment. The glass is, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe most of the glass is from Hebron, which is an economically disadvantaged area. So it's helping both our community and our college and the people that get it. I have a house full of this stuff, and it's wonderful.
Oh, I know. It's so beautiful. That's wonderful. So please, and these are your new program. These are U.S. support
Correct.
for the college.
Correct. The first thing that the ambassadors want to start in our new U.S. program are, concerts of prayer. They want prayer to be the foundation of everything else that's going on, obviously, as we do too with the college. So they are collecting names of people who are interested. That's why I put the email address for U.S. ambassadors on that. If you are interested in becoming an ambassador or finding out more about it, or becoming a consistent prayer for the college, you can write to that email address. You'll see it up again on the screen, and let them know that you're interested. And yeah, it'll be worth it to get involved.
And we have daily devotions for folks like myself who have daily devotions. These are wonderful ways to connect spiritually and learn about the college and learn about the world, learn about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Primarily our devotions are put out for Advent and Lent, but we have at least monthly, it's called a Bible Live video. And it's a taste of the look of the country. They'll go to a specific location, one of the holy sites, and they do a video there. And there's a prayer, there's meditation, there's often scripture involved. So it's a good way to use that to meditate and pray.
Exactly.
Yes.
Again, here is the address. We will be posting this video on our website, which I'll close with in a moment, commonhumanity.org. We put this on YouTube, we put it on Facebook, we put it out there. So if you somehow missed it, come back and you can get it again. We are commonhumanity.org. That's our website. We would also be grateful if you would consider a donation to the work that we do. That keeps us going as well with these kind of programs. We have art for sale. You have beautiful art for sale. Buy from the college, but keep our art. We also work with art from many Iraqi artists. We're having more of these programs every 2 weeks, the first and third Saturday of each month between now and summer, when everybody's going to be wanting to get outdoors. But we are continuing. A month from now, we have a very special program about M.J. Sharp, who is a Mennonite who lost his life in the Congo, a new book about him. In 6 weeks, I think one of your board members, Jonathan Kitab, is going to be interviewed. We'll talk to him. So we got some great programs coming up. And so please continue to join us. Any words in closing that the two of you would like to share before we wrap up our program? I've been so grateful for the spirit of all this, the knowledge, the special view, but also the good, kind spirit that has come through. And thank you both so much. Any final words before we say goodbye to our audience and invite them back in 2 weeks?
Let me just say thank you. And it was a real honor to be a part of this, excuse me, and I'll leave the goodbye for Pastor Jack.
No, thank you, Marianne. I really appreciate Emil, Marianne as well, and those who attended live and those who will be listening later on. We invite you to come and visit us in Bethlehem. If you cannot visit Bethlehem, you can visit the website and we'll be able to interact with you at any rate. We're grateful that God put us in a network that we are able to share our hearts, share our mind, and at the same time share common things. I love your name, Common Humanity, and that's what we share together, regardless sometimes of our differences, whether it is theological or interpretation of certain texts in the Bible or even religious. God is the God of all, and He will give us the strength to continue being light and hope for our people, because that's why we're here. And we appreciate those who stand with us, who support us, and those who are able as well to come and even work with us if they like to volunteer or do some support work here in Bethlehem. God bless you, and really thank you, and I appreciate each and every one of you.
Thanks to both of you, to Jack, if I may call you Jack, and Marianne for being with us, to our audience, those of us who are going to see this online. Come back and join us in 2 weeks. Go to commonhumanity.org. Thank you. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you one of these days in Bethlehem and Charlotte before too long. Thank you.
Inshallah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.